speaker is going to talk about how to convince a friend not to have an abortion, and she is Mariana, former director of Tepeyac Women's Center, Silver Spring.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let's turn on the lights because I don't have a presentation that you need to focus your attention behind me. So we can have a conversation. We can focus on the argument or the conversations that we can have because your questions now are becoming more practical. Now we have some information about the tragic of abortion. Now let's see how we can talk to these friends, how to approach them. So again, my name is Mariana, and I worked at Centro Tepeyac Pregnancy Center for 13 years. I was the director 9 years, and I am a crisis counselor still to this day. So crisis counselors, or we call them also pro-life advocates, we have to go through serious training once a year, minimum, a whole week, where a gathering like this, we have speaker upon speaker, doctors, lawyers, experts, ex-abortionists that come and talk to us. How can we reach the mind, but most importantly, the heart of the abortion-minded person? Typically we think of a woman because she's the one carrying the baby. Well, what about the fathers? Those are the big question mark, the big absence, the big, we totally disregard the importance of the male role, not only in pregnancy, but in decision making of an unwanted, unplanned pregnancy. So I'm a wife, I'm a mother of 5, and now I'm a homeschooler, but I'm a pro-lifer from head to toe, right? For obvious reasons, not only my faith, but my own experience as a wife and as a mother. So what I want to say in the practical sense on these conversations, I want to give you a toolkit that hopefully today you can take with you, and I can send a handout, but I didn't wanted you to be distracted. I wanted you to look at me and have this conversation, but then you will remember exactly what we're talking about. So let's remember or remind ourselves that beautiful gospel where Jesus opens the ears and the mouth of this mute, deaf person. What Jesus does, we know it's one of those crazy ways where Jesus makes a miracle, but he puts saliva in his fingers and then touches the ear of the deaf person and the mouth, the tongue of the mute. And then he pronounces the word ephata, open, ephata. That person was close to communication, close to understanding, close to relationships, close to even his own person, because he couldn't hear, he couldn't communicate. So a similar thing is happening with the abortion-minded person. He or she has been consumed by the worry or the pressure or the circumstances, and that person is closed. Be sure that Satan is definitely working in the heart, in the soul of that person to commit an abortion, because Satan knows the moment he can grasp that child, also grasps the mother. Now, the child is liberated and runs back to the father, but the parents are now consumed by the tragic decision they make. So the first thing to think about is, we're talking about, in a way, a liberation, okay? So we need to pray to our Lord, ephata, open. You open, Lord. I'm not gonna open anything. No, trust me, counselors, we don't do anything if it's not by the grace of God. Nothing. We cannot convince not even a little ant, right? We can do anything. So we need to be prepared. So the first thing is, when someone reaches it, the question is not if one day someone will approach you with an abortion-minded question or person in front of you. That's not if. The question is when. When is this going to happen to you? It's going to happen because we are surrounded by this in our whole communities. We're consumed by the targeting. We just saw how Planned Parenthood is targeting the young people, targeting the communities. This is real. So when this happens, what can we do? So first thing, of course, always pray and fast. Pray and fast is always the answer for this demon. But the second thing is the practical way. And I want to share with you a toolkit that we have at the pregnancy centers, and it's called the L.O.V.E approach. The L.O.V.E approach. So L-O-V-E. Each letter stands for an action, something that you can do actively to help this person, this woman, this man, where you're going to participate in a beautiful conversation. So L.O.V.E approach, L. L stands for listening. Listening. For us women, it's so hard to listen. It's so hard to listen. Like, we have so much things to share, so we already have a full script of things that we can say. Well, the first thing from the L.O.V.E approach, the listening, is humility and the ability to bite your tongue. Okay, so can we do that? Yes, you can, because God is assisting you. So you're going to listen. How are you going to listen? First, ask questions. So let's play, a little role here. So the person comes and says, I think I'm pregnant and I can have this kid, or I think I missed a period and I don't know what to do. I just want to magically disappear. Exactly what we just heard, right? That argument. I want it magically to disappear. Well, you're going to ask the question, how do you know you're pregnant? How do you know? Have you taken a pregnancy test? Oh, no, but I just missed a period. Well, first step, why don't we go get a pregnancy test, figure this out together? And the thing is, the questions are going to be directed into the crisis. Because when you have an unwanted, unplanned pregnancy, and this person knows already, because God has a way to tell you. There's an intuition that you already know, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. It can be joyful or sad, but there's intuition about this. So guide this person through it. Let's get a pregnancy test. Let me get you to one of these facilities that are qualified by the government, and it can easily be a pregnancy center. And you can talk to someone about your situation. Questions like, who's the father of the baby? Right? What other questions can we think of? Like initial conversations would be the basics. Do you know you're pregnant? How do you know? Who's the father of your baby? Who have you told about this? Do you have a friend? Or maybe you are the friend. So the first thing is to listen. Questions. You need to go deep and ask those questions. And here is where also the devil will tempt you to not ask the questions. Okay? It's like, no, don't go there. That's so intimate. Well, that's maybe exactly the question you should ask. Now keep in mind, when you're entering the most intimate part of a person, of their soul, the most intimate part, and mostly it can be their sexuality, it can be secrets, it can be things that are in their hearts that they don't necessarily want to share. So the question is, how do we approach this person too, when I'm going so deep into their intimate space? So the way you do it is with absolute humility and humbleness. You don't rampage and go like a hurricane. You should do this, you should do that, and then tears start flowing, and books and Bibles and rosaries, because I've seen that. Can you not? When you are in shock about an unwanted, unplanned pregnancy, people tend to react in various ways, and sometimes it can be crazy. So you're entering a sacred space. So do it with utmost humility and delicacy. I cannot stress that much. But so then L is listening. O is options. So what options do we have? And abortion is an option. Let's not kid ourselves. Not because you are pro-life and you know where you want to go with your arguments, abortion is still an option. So let's address abortion as an option. But options are also adoption, and it's beautiful that Misty started with that. Adoption is a beautiful option, and of course keeping the baby. You will not know the answer until you are listening actively to this person, and this person is going to give you hints. What are their plans? So he can say, well, I want to have an abortion, or he can say, I'm thinking adoption, or I just need help. I want to keep this baby. So for the most part, when it's a single mom or a single dad, it's very possible that the abortion thought is always there through the 9 months. Okay, 9 months. So through 9 months, and then afterwards, of course, but to prevent abortion, you need to help that person to fulfill that option. So let's go to V, L-O.V. We are now on V, which is visioning. Your role is to place a new vision in this person's heart and mind, a vision. Now, we are consumed as society to live by the rear view mirror, consumed by it. We'll go through life driving, imagine as if you're driving a car, and as if I was driving, always looking in my rear view mirror. You wouldn't do that while you are driving because you will crash eventually. But as humans, we tend to live looking at the past all the time, rear view mirror. Mistakes, joys, sorrows, errors, and sins, etc., etc. And God does not intend us to live in the past. God intends us to live in the present. Okay? So visioning. I can't do this. Yes, you can. Imagine how are you going to, on your cell phone, this was an argument I would use so often. Imagine a year from now, the pictures you will have on your cell phone of that baby. That baby might at that point be 3 months, maybe even 6. Imagine the pictures you will have. Imagine the joys, the baby showers, but also the sleepless nights. Also, it's going to be hard, but we are here for you. And how are we going to do that? So plant in a positive vision of how that future would look like. And every time that person goes to the past, and I have gazillion stories that maybe I'll get to share with you, but of those traps that we get to live in the past. No, future, envision the future in present. You know, catapult that person to the future. Now the last one, E, empower. How am I going to empower someone? Well, the first thing, and St. Thomas Aquinas talks about this, the 4 signs of charity. And I love it because it's very graphic and I think we can understand it. He says it's 4 signs of charity. The first one, the melting of our hearts. How are you going to empower that woman if you are not melted in your heart when she's telling you her sorrows, her pains, her brokenness? So the melting, when you're listening, actively listening, you start to melt. Your heart starts to soften. And then the second sign is piercing of the heart. How your heart is going to be pierced by her pain. You're almost feeling her pain. And then the ecstasy. When you do an act of charity, you feel joyful. When you give a good advice, you feel joyful. When you give your almsgiving, you feel ecstatic. That's a sign that the act of charity is going in the right place. It's not self-centered, it's self-giving. And then the last one is, so we said, I'm blanking here, give me a second. So we said melting, piercing, ecstasy, and execution, okay? So empower is all of those things. Because your heart has melted, has been pierced, you're in ecstasy because you already accomplished so much by accompanying this person, then you're gonna empower her by doing something for her. And that's going to be, let's go to the pregnancy center. Let's go talk to your parents, I'll be with you. Let's talk to maybe your grandparents, and let's talk to your friends. Let's reach out to the pregnancy center, to the pregnancy counselor, to a pro-life doctor, to etc., etc. You're empowering her with physical tools. If she needs to go to a maternity home, if she needs housing, if she needs money on the bank account, that's empower. okay? So I know I went through it, like, so I can't talk fast, and I went through this really quickly, but I hope it can sink in a little bit. The love approach is all about listening, giving options, providing a vision, and empowering that woman. It has nothing to do with you. This battle has already been won. This is something I also want to highlight. I saw horrors, horrible things that people did, people continue to do, and still this battle, we need to trust, has already been won. And not only that, this battle is of the Lord's. It's not our battle, it's His. So that's why we start with ephata. Open our hearts, open our ears, open our tongues, so that we can see, we can speak truth, we can witness to people. And in this we need to be so passionate about it, to know that it's not you being prepared about all the arguments about abortion, and I need to know everything about contraception, how evil it is, and how Planned Parenthood. Yes, you need to have that wisdom, otherwise you could look like a fool. But ultimately the love approach, you see, I didn't mention, oh, prepare yourself and read all these documents and, No, what I just said is listen and love. Love that person through and through. And God will help you help this person.